And the comment is from the RK1111. Please explain the more fly fishers versus catch and release or not enhances fisheries. Would love to hear your thoughts. Had one casting lesson in my life and have seen quite a few demonstrations and read a few books. Ed Jaworowski always impressed me just watching him. He has a couple videos on the Fly Fisherman Magazine's YouTube channel. Yes, and I was chatting to Ed too, and he is one of the few great sportsmen in the game. Let me tell you, that was discussing with me fairly intensely about my approach and was fairly open-minded, so fair play to Ed Jaworowski. And in this episode we are going to look into a wee little snippet from Ed Jaworowski, because of course I checked that out for you and I found something there immediately that threw me back to my own work. And you know, it is all connected in this game. So we look quickly in Ed Jaworowski's work, and we also discuss that catch and release thing a little bit, though you might not like my opinion on that one. And we do that right after we checked out the coolest intro on YouTube.
Eventually, the rocks or tall things merge into one. I am haunted. Under the rocks are the words, and a river runs through, and some of the words are theirs.
So we talk about the catch and release thing in a minute, but before we do that, let's look a little bit into that quick casting snippet here from Ed Jaworowski, and it is about acceleration. And we look at it, and I show you where that video throws me back to my work and also to work of his colleague named Lefty Big Cray, Lefty Bernhard Victor Cray. And
I don't care what time it is.
We look into what I find good there, and we look also into what I think is not, you know, like the last time we'll look for the hair in the soup. And also later then we talk a little bit about catch and release and the hair in the soup there. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the screen recording here I took from Ed Jaworowski about functional casting part 1, acceleration.
The line resists movement of the rod tip. By far the most important aspect in loading the rod is acceleration. Once your hand begins moving, it must continue moving exponentially, faster, faster, faster. When you have the load needed for any particular cast, immediately stop exerting all force on the grip. That's what allows the rod instantly to release its entire stored load into the line.
And he calls it exponentially faster, faster, faster. That means exponentially means start slow and become faster all the time. It's the curve that looks like this here, like you see there, the green one. And then he shows something there where he takes the rod in the other hand.
Stop exerting all force on the grip.
That is the let go of the throwaway cast, in my opinion. Check out my video on the throwaway cast and you might be able to connect the dots, only that I say something different here. Once you have the hand moving, it must continue moving exponentially faster and faster and faster. I think this is very tricky. Because when I learned fly casting, I learned it back in the 1990s without a video from a book from Lefty Cray, which was translated into German, and it was a very, very bad translation. And I tried to move the arm on the shelf like this here, yeah. It was terrible. But let me get back to that acceleration to move the hand faster and faster and faster. I think that is not true, because you're not moving the hand faster and faster, you move the rod tip faster and faster. And that tip speed is not generated by moving the hand fast, it's generated by rotating the hand at a certain speed. Because that rotation will generate far more speed up there than any movement of the hand. If I move fast with the hand, I can only go that fast, but if I rotate here, up here, okay, That makes the thing way much faster, and that's the reason why so many people try to throw it with their wrists, in my opinion. So hand speed and rod tip speed is correlated, but not the same. Because the rod tip speed is always amplified and, amplified, and the rod is there to accelerate your movements, yeah? So even if you go only slow with the hand here, that will make a fast rotation up there, or relatively faster. So in your head, that is a tricky thing to say. The hand has to go faster and faster all the time, because at some stage you run out of arm length. Is that when you stop the rod, or do you not have to stop the rod? Now, I had a discussion with Ed Jaworowski about rod stopping, and you know what he says. Yeah, you don't have to stop the rod, really. You only have to decelerate, or what is the word for that? You have to only after acceleration slowing it down again, or let it go. That is what he shows there in that video here. It's exactly, in my opinion, exactly the same move, the same thinking behind it, only that it is taught from the single loop learning teachings, as in stopping the rod and forming a loop.
What is fly casting? It's bringing to life a fly rod and line through arm movement to create open-ended, unrolling loops with which to present an artificial fly to a target area.
But in the triple loop learning system, it shows that release of that tension out of the rod and the line will make the cast by itself, and there's no reason even to worry about any what you call loop shapes, because if you control the process correct, from point A from the cast to point B from the cast, the result of the cast will always be the same. You get the same tight, what you call loop, every time. Can you throw the same tight thing every time? Find this video here for yourself. Let the art of letting go with fly rod and line go out and pray. Right, that GoPro froze on me again. If you have another idea or a good tip for a better camera that I could get, please leave a comment and let me know, because the sound annoys me a little bit too, and that GoPro I'm using here is really giving bottle overheating and is a little bit of an annoying tool, I must say. Alright, the catch and release thing. How do I think about catch and release and more anglers? You see, there's this development stage where you say a fly fisher at the beginning, he wants to catch a fish at all, and then he wants to catch as many fish as possible, and then he wants to catch the big fish, and then he wants to catch the difficult fish. And I personally think there's an even higher development stage after the difficult fish. That is the angler who doesn't care about catching the fish anymore. He cares about protecting the fish and producing more anglers so they can care for more clean water and more fish. What logical explanation? Let me ask, please. Don't get pissed off if I do that now here. But we're here in the triple loop learning teachings. We need to be able to ask these questions, and we need to be honest, and we need to discuss that from a neutral perspective, from an outside perspective, if we can. What reasons are there for practicing catch and release? I told you in the episode of the roots of fly fishing that sort of catch and release was promoted originally very hard by Lee Wolf and the crowd around him, Mel Krieger, Joan Wolf and Lefty Gray, and that was on the one side a measure of sustainability and protection, but on the other side also a guarantee to keep your sport. You have to remember we come out of a very, very competitive cave. Crawled out of a very competitive cave, and that competition is still in us. And I don't know if you know that yourself. If you go fishing with your buddies, yeah, you go fishing with your buddies, but there's still always a little bit of that competition, and that kind of, I caught a bigger one and I caught more ones, and it's okay to help the buddy to catch one fish or two, but you wouldn't like to see him out fishing you by the dozen after you showed him how to do that, would you? Do you want to become do you want your student to become better than yourself when you teach him? That is the question here in the triple loop learnings. But back to the catch and release. From a conservational standpoint of view, to protect the fish, I think catch and release is justified. But I also think it devalues the value of the fish. I think it devalues the fish. Because you say, Lee Wolf said, this fish is too valuable to be caught only once. Let's put him back and play again with him. For the one side, because fly fishing is playful, and on the other side, to protect the sport, that other anglers can catch this fish too, but they're not allowed to kill it. And in the meantime, with many fly fishers, we are at a point where you get looked at bad if you want to take a fish home and if you want to kill that fish and grill it. Fillet and grill it is not a la mode anymore, as in that is where we're coming from. When we crawled out of that competitive cave, back in the day, there was no catch and release. There was only catch and kill and survive or die. What ethical reasons do you think are there that justify catch and release? In my opinion, that is the reason why I finish each and every video of mine with the saying, we don't own the water, the water owns us. The only explanation for that is that the water wants us to play with the fish. If you get goosebumps from that, you're in the right channel. You have the finger in the right hole, my friends. For me, the only logical explanation for catch and release is not that Lee Wolf wanted to protect his sport. It is that the water tells the fly fisherman, come here, play with my fish, and look after me. You have to look after the water and not only after the fish. In the meantime, I can't even look at the fucking grip and grin shots anymore, because you have to understand one thing. Fish are stupid, and they're actually fairly easy caught. Most of the fish on this planet here are very easy caught if you know what you're doing. You probably agree on that. But that tremendous fascination of the cast, of the hit, and of the catch, and also of the release, must have a deeper meaning and a deeper reason. And that is, in my opinion, that the water is talking to us. Because we don't own the water owns us. Let me give you another connection in that regard and drive that back to the beginning on Ed Jaworowski's casting demonstration, what our eyes do and what the flow state does. If you see someone casting, you cannot look away. Your eye has to follow that line unrolling, that movement. If that's a bad cast, your brain knows already before that line develops, oh, that's gonna crash. If it's good cast, you get soothed and you're maybe also a bit jealous and you think, I want to cast such nice, tight things there too. But what you can't do is look away. And I think that is due to the fact that the surface of the eyes is also covered with water, and that water in your eyes is the same like the water in front of you that you fish. And that is all connected. And if somebody can understand that language from the water, it's the fly fisherman. And I know that sounds very, very weird for you at the beginning, but if you go out, and I'm serious about that, and practice with the fixed line anchor, and you establish the symmetry and the harmony, this will soothe your eyes through the wet surface and your mental state into another configuration of vibration. And you might have heard of the law of vibration. Some people say yes, some people say no. But all people agree on that music, mathematics, and fly casting is a universal code of harmony and symmetry. If the water wouldn't like to play with us, it wouldn't allow us to catch and release, would it? Imagine a hunter snaring a fucking deer, dragging it home, and then saying, okay, dear, run away, run free, I'm not going to eat you. He wouldn't do that, would he? This is interesting, eh? And it goes very deep, into the meaning of what we do, how we do it, and how we should look at things. Because, in my opinion, that catch and release makes only sense if you look at it from the perspective of the water and its own logic to protect itself through it. Because a healthy fish stock means that the water in which the fish are living is also healthy. That's very weird thinking, I know, and kind of actually a new type of philosophy I'm making here. I call it the philosophy of the last bench from the anti-fragile teachings. But think about that for a while. What if the water would be indeed talking to us, telling us to protect it from ourselves, actually? And I think that is the future job of fly casting instructors, to communicate that better and also to research that better. Because fly fishing is very therapeutic, as you probably know. Maybe you had that experience where you drive to the water for a fish and you have the radio on and you go way too fast down to the river, let's go. And you're totally in a rush and hurrying to the water, and after you come from the water, you're not listening to the radio at all. You're not speeding. You're just in yourself, in the presence, in the moment, because you just had the healing effects of the water. In my opinion, the future responsibility of fly casting instructor must be based more on these connections and the protection of clean water at all prices. I thank you very much for tuning in this episode again, and I also thank RK1111 very much for that comment, because it was time that we talked about that. And I'm highly curious about what and how you think about that. And I'm happy that I could talk about that, because I'm doing stuff for a reason. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and also do not forget, we don't own the water owns us.
Eventually, the rocks or timeless rings merge into one. I am haunted under the rocks, are the words, and a river runs through, and some of the words are theirs.